Parang kurang titong ko.
Teri da Berlin yoga teri so trobo chindo tamala teri tashi dele teri Losar tashi dele poje Losar yena teri Losar ki ba teri kare te chibore dele teri mi sama simte chikda ta teri Losar yi de teri namto ji parma chuba simte chikda negeri de so po chung di ta sani Losar de ti goma yi yo mar de gato chibo dele sem 너는 semte직도 내 박갑시리 들이 랑게들이 박차가래 야나 들이 박차된도 그요래 들이들 로사래들 다 로냥반은 찼어 다 로사반은 박차가래 요고 다 삼mon단 거요래 들이 때문에 들이 다들 참아를 들이 담을리기 무슨 주로 참아양 감들 로사를 들어서 약합 가시요 담지 참아를 들이 다시 데렉죠 들이 잠도 말로 들이 가치와 강의들이 들다 며칠 강고 들이 동다들 같이 머리에 쌍그요래 데를 들이다 로살디 다시 데리죠
All my friends and all the Dharma friends from around the world, I wish you happy Losar Dashi Dele. It's the Tibetan New Year today, and it's a very important time because on the New Year, all of our minds, everyone's mind, is single-pointedly directed toward the Losar, the New Year. Everybody thinks today is Losar, so we all have the same mind, single-pointedly. We have one-mindedly, and so there's no other thought about it in our mind. So it's just today's Losar. And actually, when I was young, as a child, I remember that when Losar is tomorrow, then the night before, we can't even sleep. We're so excited. Tomorrow is Losar. So it's really sort of like a method, a skillful way for the mind also to be one-minded, or single-minded. And this is also a time where we place a good imprint into the mind. So the old year is over. We are starting the new year. And so then we should think about, on Losar, on the new year, we should think about what positive imprints am I going to form, what positive habits am I going to form in the new year. This is how we should think. And there are also a few of my Dharma friends here from countries, different countries, other countries than Tibet, who also celebrate the new year today. So a special Dashidele to them too. And so today, on this special day, we are going to receive the Refuge Vow. And I personally think that receiving the Refuge Vow is really one of the most important things that you can do in your life, one of the most significant things you can do in your life. And so because of that, because of its significance, I wanted to give the Refuge Vow on the Losar, on the new year.
Rāngi tīngā tī tātāngā mā chē chū kāngō tī ngā rā tī yōng tī rō jāng lē yō mā rē tī kāngi mā mō chē yō rē yī nāng tī tā 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 dābi lī ngā mē tsā mā mā chē tī rā chī pō kia nā tī rēk sā mō yō rē rāngā pō chō tī tī rā wō rē yī nāng tī rāngā yō mā rē ngā mā jab zē tā tī lū rā tū sōng 대는 다 삼아 대화 저기 먹는 동네 정부요래 대는 다 삼아 다 동네지만 보요래 대나한테 안 답을 막시 동네지 이제 담지 다 삼아 같이 다 내려 주지 이때 강성을 내 좀지 지랑 하듯이 봐도 솔직히 하고 말이지 이때 강같이니 다 사기 좀 되게 괜히들아 지랑 하듯이 내 좀지 하고 또 봐 데르티니 소소한 마테가 강에 망보송하더니 동네 등기들 왕이 바시라 대완들이 사바단 인지 사제들 남동을 뛰는 고소서 그 같은 바 하고네 들 동행아 보통라 그 단위제도 봐 등에 대화는 통도 봐 대탐도 그 고소서 그 같은 송송 대외들이 다단 잠벨링이 도보 참아 이 남이랑 뛰어치고 로 탐지를 랑게 just 뭐요 이 가리 갈 하담시오 이마도 떼누리 들기바 강리 들이 다다단 이제 그 메리라 다 배사 사야를 떼용나 오 되게 미친들 때서 팽거를 마도 들네 유는 못해 양하서 레드를 강한 팽거만 동해고라 왕요 말이 또 레레샤 지진랑 시체 못지 너희 강에 막뭐 최발로 뛰니 그래 좀 제일 시체 못지에서 그래 데려뜨는 레드를 시와 같이 대들이 갈렸죠 짠주도 말을 뛰네들이 랑게 다들 양하서 대독도 하고서 그때 소소랑 이치요 봐 탐제라는 애들이 이 막 같이 시작하기도 말이죠. 랑라 대표 같이 뭐 차송 기왕 들리면서 제가 탐지도 대왕의 대화를 돌아서 봐서 람비하고 사지가 띠도 대인들이 되는가 랑그 가로 탐지를 드리는 자비도 맞아 같이 버리셔 이 들이라게 되게 들로 딱 같은 로사가 동그라게 자비도 봐 랑그 프로젝트 랑가 탐자죠.
And then secondly, so I myself didn't really have the opportunity to do a lot of studying and learning in this life, so I'm not very educated, but I have experienced a lot of hardship, a lot of suffering in this life. And so everybody in this world wants to be happy, and most people think that if I'm just happy, that's all I want. And so everyone is like that, also myself, but then we don't really have so much choice. We don't have much control over what we need to experience. Because it is said, if you wish to know what you did in a past life, then look at your present body, look at your present life. You already have created all your experiences of happiness and suffering in past lives. And so this is why we experience a lot of suffering, even though we all want to, we all strive to accomplish happiness in our life, that's our purpose, and still, even though that's what we intend to do, we experience a lot of suffering. So, therefore it is said, if you wish to know what you did in a previous life, look at your present body. So most of the people in this world, most of us experience a lot of suffering. There's a lot of suffering in the world. And then it says, if you wish to know where you will go next, look at your present actions. So that's something that nobody knows. And we understand our suffering, but nobody understands really karma, cause and effect, and past and future lives. And it is really due to the kindness of the Buddha that we are able to understand this now. So I personally, even though I have experienced much hardship in this life, I did understand that all of this suffering is the result of past karma from previous lives. And I understood that all happiness comes from love and compassion. So that's really the path that the Buddha had shown. And understanding that, I really understood the kindness of the three jewels, because that knowledge enabled me to accept all of the suffering that I encountered, and also enabled me to see all suffering actually as happiness. So that is what I want to pass on to my friends around the world, especially those who love me very much, and I also love them very much. And because I love you very much, I was thinking about, I want to give you the greatest gift. And I was thinking, what is the greatest gift I could give you? And so now many people in the world, if I would give them like $1 million, maybe it will help you a little bit in this life, but not in the long term. It wouldn't help you when it comes to karma in future lives. Because when it comes to karma, we still have no control really. And so mainly, I really believe in karma. And it is because I have experienced a lot of suffering that my trust in karma became really very strong. And that's really most important. That's what I want to pass on, is this knowledge of karma. And therefore, I thought the greatest gift I can give you is the Refuge Vow. Because it is through that, really, that I have understood past and future lives and the workings of karma, and why we experience happiness and suffering. So because my trust in that is so strong, I thought this would be really the greatest gift to give to you, is the Refuge Vow. And knowing that, having that, will not only benefit you in this life, but in all future lifetimes. You really have a path to liberation, to freedom. And therefore I thought that giving the Refuge Vow to all my beloved friends is really the best thing I can do, the greatest gift I can give you. And so therefore, I kind of took this commitment that every year at Losar, I want to give the Refuge Vow.
Jyoti tata madar di jyoti chata deva jyoti zosonga ni deva nyong yomaris. Oh, dungai tani jeta ba chasong. Muja dungai mambo de nyong ni di dungai tani jeta ba. Dungai deva lan josong, dungai deva lan jodo, dungai yinja dungai de kepena natala. Rishakti cheba na jirete. Dungai dungai lengi ma changi yori sang tini dungai mewa deva chasong. Di suga trengi dina. Oh. 사실 쪽이 이제 추남 탐지 절에송 책적대상 땅에 이라게 시치 뭐 제송 저랬더니 다도 마보라고 다 제송 저랬더니 이라게 그랬다가 마치강 이제 나버리는 소리를 내요 바테 때문에라고 또 마보라 시잡 그리세리 라시다리 잡지 대다가 차서 나랑 대다가 마정받을 소리지 다 사지 쪽이 가는지 다 잠도 같이 버리시 들이 대라더니 당에 자차 탐을 줬다고 자차 탐을 논이 라서 하더니 살아통이 좀디 다 잠도 받을 기치머리야 와롱치도 자차 못 삼지 까디 치아리 삼지만 잡을 때 하고 요래 이런 미치가 뭐체 강나 잠도 받으는 들어오더니 사지가 친구들 남을 주송아 하자 짜치버리 사지가 용띠 되더니 사지 좀띠 되더니 하자 이시대 봐요 그때 그랬더니 잡지도 막 와서니 그랬더니 잡지도 말아 같이 있어요 그랬더니 잡지도 말이 기별라 며칠 빼야 빼지요 말이죠 제주로 사야지 떼잖아 뭐 제대로마다 폐기요 말이 잡지도 말을 떼잖아 땡명 턱반이 잡지도 봐 리삼은 고소서 뭐 이거 뜻이 이렇게 맞는데 뭐지 다이 정대 지와 차 탐지라 내 감도 도리게 되와 타족 사지의 공방 말로 잡문이 살이샤 들리들 잡주도 뭐 하장 짜치 뭐요 저요 저게들이 다른 게 로티 이게 세탑이라 잡주 동지 가래를 들서 라리 속들만 되는지 들지 잡을게 남바 삼아서 동요래 들지는 잡을게 남바 찍고 말이 취세 봐 취지로 같이 봐야 돼 또봐 가셔 게디우 같이 와야 돼 그래서 사지 주단 게디우스 없는 고초섬데 잡을 추록이 우리 얘라다디 고초섬들 요런 맹종 마서 말이야 리마토도 집에 그래서 고초섬도 짜치 버리스 드리테에는 잡리도 마양 주로랑나 지와 바탕들 현대의 바탕들 퍼클로
So now, at this part in life, experience so much happiness. I'm very happy, but then I don't really put too much hope into happiness too. because it is also just karmic arising, and it is just like the oil in a butter lamp. It will also change, it will come to an end. Because especially if we do not create more causes for happiness, then at some point the happiness that we have now will be gone, and then we have no more causes of happiness. So this is how I've seen happiness. I've learned to understand happiness, and when it comes to suffering, I have learned to accept, to tolerate the suffering, the hardships that I encountered. And it is because of having experienced so much hardship that I learned to accept and tolerate it, and not only that, to transform suffering into happiness. Because what suffering, pain really is, it is just like doing a surgery that is necessary. So I've always felt in the midst of hardship that it is good because now I'm purifying my negative karma. And therefore, actually, I did not experience it as suffering, the hardship as suffering. And whose kindness is that? It's because the Buddha had said, all phenomena arise from causes. And it's just these words that I have a very strong trust in. And it is through these words that I was able to resolve all of my many hardships that I experienced. And so actually, when I was thinking back the time when I was in prison, it is because of that really that I'm still alive. And not only that I was very happy even at that time in prison. And when I'm thinking back and thinking of my like cellmates, my other friends, many of them committed suicide. And then I'm asking myself, how come that didn't happen to me? Why didn't I feel that way? It's because of the Buddha's kindness, because of what I learned, the knowledge that I have gained from the Buddha's teachings. And that's why I really always felt that the refuge vow is so important. And therefore, when I was released from prison in 1980, immediately I started that tradition of bestowing the refuge vow. And so, of course, it was very difficult at that time to give empowerments and transmissions and the refuge vow and so on. And of all of these, what I really found to be most important, a most important activity of this life is to bestow the refuge vow. Even an animal, for example, even if an animal hears the words, if an animal hears the name of the Buddha, it is so important, so precious. And so I really trust in and have great faith in the teachings of the Buddha. And so that is why I started at that time to give the refuge vow. That was my main activity, because that's so important. Because as I said, I might give somebody like $1 million, not that I have $1 million to give, but if I would give you $1 million, then it would not be so actually meaningful in your life or in future lives. What's really meaningful is to receive the refuge vow, to take refuge in the 3 jewels. It is meaningful to even just remember the 3 jewels. Because if the 3 jewels are in your mind, then from this time onward until you attain enlightenment, in all future lifetimes, you will take birth in the higher realms, and ultimately you will attain enlightenment. The 3 jewels really are your trustworthy refuge. They are extremely precious. So that is how I see them. I really consider it as very important. And that's actually also mentioned in the 37 Bodhisattva practices. And so regarding these jewels, which basically means a place of refuge, in the Buddhist tradition, we call them the 3 jewels, but it's not just the Buddhists who have a refuge or like a jewel. A jewel is a refuge. You have it in any religion. So that's why this religion, the spiritual path in general, not only Buddhism, is very important. And so in Buddhism, we have the 3 jewels of Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha, or in other words, our refuge is Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. And of these, the Sangha, who teaches you everything, is extremely important. But again, every religion in the world has some sort of refuge, and they just maybe give it different names, and we call it the three jewels. So in any case, I want to offer you this refuge vow today, especially to all of my Dharma friends who have great love for me and who really want to receive the refuge vow.
Many things that I tell you about the Kanga Chapel, Sajita, Genius, Jamne Say, Conjosum Ready. The Jamne Say, Conjosum Gibat, Sanjedina, the do some job with the Deva Mambo, do some job of Sanjay Sayatom Servan Borid. You know, Tata Kapan, Dalang Ason, the Sajatava Red. There the Sanjay Shiva, Kali dinner. 다시 여기 쌈짓만 잡아요. 다음 건조서 뭐 이제 하고도 가리 뭐 특히 제디바 성도 다가 요디 삽장이요 말이 책 용용 그때라고 하고 거리 뭐뭐는 샘데 요니 거기 대장도 요래지 뭐 sep지 잠도 올라오세요. sep지 탐지 잠도 올라오세요. 뭐데 잡당 뭐데 탐지 진박도 보소 탐지 지바지나 다 레좀지 차신 차와 대치도 다른 거는 레좀지 대독 라는 게 레를 하래 봐 라왕 많이 봐 이왕지 레 왕치와 좀지서 하면 봐대 대마지 탐지 지바도 뭐 소나용 뒤잡지 제대로 다른 무슨 소나용 거리 멋진 데라더니 르 롱조 도장 나타나서 네버를 쓰지 받던 수남이야 그러지 수남을 그러지 이 수남을 저서 못 나도 가리 삼세스 내가 뛰는 것을 올라 내와도 내가 저상 된 말이지 뭐는 때리 내가 저찍 봐도 요 말이지 감순 샘지 답지 샘지 우리 내가 저찍 봐도 요 말 대삼세스 너게 저서 타월 저지 너게 저서 나디스 동당을 다들 요리 말이죠. 다 요미하고 다 은혜도 요 말, 다 매파라 다들 정도. 제르들이 당신이 봐도 순남이 되죠. 순남 때 뭐또 낭송 당소 하고 삼재들이 삼재도 다 보죠. 제가 누가 지양 자식 이루 집에 봉시 사살. 요 앞에서 속박제들 이런 삼재 공시 랑 셈이 없어져 저 설명하 좀 말이 랑 셈거든요. 피셈다 누셈이가 돼. 이거 갖고 거래. 누셈때 그 라지 탐지는 너 그래. 야 천만 원을 그래. 피셈도 라지 사바라 페그래. 얘 피셈들랑 페이디요. 고도로 페이디. 대서 랑 셈들도 또 주의시 받으더니 셈들 거래. 데르들이 상기했죠. 사기 때 송가 때 누가 지역만 내가 벌써 똑같지 들이 맞겠다 소당 하서도 말을 강토도 돼서 말이 돈들이 누가 지역만 내가 벌써 똑같지 해서 내 좀 이제 때리
So when we take refuge, so what do we, who is it that protects us when we take refuge? Who gives us refuge? It's the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha. We call them the three jewels, which are the outer places of refuge. So first there is the Buddha, and the Buddha is actually all the Buddhas of the three times of past, present, and future. There might be millions and billions of Buddhas, but the Buddha in this time and age, in this aeon, is the Buddha Shakyamuni. So what is a Buddha? A Buddha possesses inconceivable enlightened qualities. So in the very beginning, we need to understand the qualities of the three jewels. So there's this refuge prayer that says, so the whole line says, compassionate protector, omniscient guide, merit field of oceanic qualities, homage to you, the Tathagata, the Buddha. So first it says compassionate protector. So the protector is that, for example, I myself now, I do not have a lot of learning. So if I just look at these words, these are a few words that I understand. So the protector, compassionate protector, protector means that he's always with us. Everyone who has a mind has that protector with them. And that protector wants to protect all sentient beings. And then it says omniscient guide, so omniscient, the all-knowing. He knows, so we're talking about the Buddha, he knows all the subtle workings of karma, cause and effect. And now, how I understand this is to understand that whatever you experience, happiness or suffering, is your own karma. It all depends on your own karma. So once the karma is created, we are controlled by it, and we do not have much control over it. That is the truth of the relative truth, which is unfailing. So we talk about the two truths in Buddhism. And then it says merit field of oceanic qualities. So merit, what is merit actually? Now, in this life, often we say that somebody who experiences perfect abundance, like physical health and possessions and power and strength and so on, anyone who experiences all kinds of happiness, that is what we call somebody who has merit. So we are here introduced, what we are introduced to here is the actual cause of merit. And what is the cause of merit? It is love. We always say, may sentient beings have happiness and the causes of happiness. There is only one cause of happiness. Even though there are so many sentient beings in the three realms of samsara, all of them have only one cause of happiness, and that is love. And then we say, may beings be free from suffering and the causes of suffering. The cause of suffering is self-grasping. And then on the ultimate level, then we analyze this self that we grasp at. Is there a self or is there no self? Actually, there is no real self. It is just that you believe that there is a self, but actually there is no self. So the field of merit, the merit field, and this is where we are introduced to. So now, when you read that, you understand, now I have been introduced to merit. Now I understand what merit is. Merit is love. Therefore, I must hold on to it. I must hold on to love. The Buddha also said that do no wrong and practice virtue perfectly. Do no wrong means that it refers to the practice of the pratimoksha, the individual liberation, which is to abandon harming others entirely. And then practice perfect virtue means cultivate an altruistic mind, a wish to benefit others, and that is love. And then also the Buddha said, completely tame your own mind. So that implies that the body and the speech are not most important. What's important is the mind. We need to purify, tame the mind. And for that, we first need to understand the difference between an altruistic mind and a harmful mind, a mind that wishes harm upon others. So if you have negative thoughts about others and you want to harm them, then that will harm yourself and others in this and all future lives. And if you have an altruistic mind wishing to benefit others, then that will benefit yourself and all others in this and future lives. So taming the mind, that's really the essence of the Dharma. We have to purify our mind. And this is what the Buddha Jewel had taught. So again, he said, practice, do no wrong, practice virtue perfectly, and completely tame your own mind. So that actually, these three statements actually refer to the 3 levels of the path of Pratimoksha, the Bodhisattva path, and the Vajrayana path. So then we, having taken refuge, we follow that path as well as we can. So first, again, it says, do not commit any wrong, perfectly practice virtue, and that in itself actually is the teaching on karma, cause and effect.
There is Sanjay Mangla Kareri, the Yishak Samsalo Songri, the Hatakoji Chimbori, Deba Sanjay, Mango Sanjay, Tata Sanjay, Tanji, the Dambo Sanjo, the Tokyo, the Sipti, Tamil Pino, so, but the Chamis or Sosa, Dadi, the Tato member of Sanjay, the Tati, don't have a demazolity, Napatama to Sanjay, Taba, Sanjay, custom good Dadi, the Sanjay Tokyo, Custom, Kotoko, Song Hakan, custom Sanjay, custom Dani, Sanjay, John the data with the TV, Chick Jang Jesus, this subject Sanjay, Don the Sanjay. Daji the sang solo, there is something about the chair, child, the Napata child, the Sanjay, the Jishla Samsalo, the Sanjay, the Sir Sanjay. Oh, Tapado charter with you giving me some retrotions. Tapado charter with you that chili, Chichipate Caribe, that you send the something from Don Mochina. Oh, see the Deva Chipu, the Tati, Delmuvation, Tatamatabares, the Zeris, they are Ravanki, Marijimachi, see the Shiba, Dory. Oh, Tiamasa, some Tango Doctor, Lady, there's some Notamita, since the Tapado Charter with you, see the Shiba Dog, Rang Diato, Shiba Dog, those. Oh, they don't let any wrong job took them, the wrong job, Matabu. 이 칼라들이랑 이성도 적차들이 여기 소리로 지금 직도 도담 저기버시 저 출아 삼살로 되니 오 타톡 그저고 님발에 좀지 플로미 받아 하고니 그 타톡 도담 대바 좀지 하고 다지 있으면 도담 대마 돈들이 다 사제 고막 토야 요바데 사제 고막 토와 사제 그 샨지서 취들이 저들도 똑같이 없어서 그 앞으로 똑같이 텔레바도 용말이 저 취기마다 다치 버리도 너가 치료를 세다 답지 주복에서 이제 동동 테레스
And then here in the text, in this prayer, it says, homage to you, the Tathagata. The Tathagata is the Buddha, a name for the Buddha. And this name, this word Buddha or Tathagata, is actually in itself extremely meaningful. So there are the Buddhas of the past, present, and the future. And all the Buddhas have in the beginning cultivated the motivation of bodhicitta, wishing to benefit all sentient beings. And then with that motivation, then in the middle, they accumulated merit throughout 3 endless aeons. And during that time, they completely destroyed their clinging to a self. And ultimately, in the end, they attained perfect and complete enlightenment. They saw the ultimate truth. And so this is what unifies them all. This motivation to benefit every single sentient being. And so all the Buddhas are an embodiment of the 3 kayas, also according to the tantric path. So in that sense then, their body is Nirmanakaya, and speech is Sambhogakaya, and the mind is the Dharmakaya. So that is the Tathagata, homage to the Tathagata. And the term Buddha itself, as we said, it's very meaningful. So Buddha in Tibetan means Sangye, and Sang, the first syllable, means to have cleared away or purified or awakened. And what they have cleared away is the dualistic grasping at a self, other, and duality. And ye, the second syllable, means vast or expansive. That is, when dualistic grasping is purified, the mind becomes vast, like space. So this is the meaning of the word Buddha. And so that's the meaning of Tathagata here. And the Buddha is this is the meaning of the outer, the external Buddha. So then for the Dharma, it says, it is the virtue of the pure cause that is free. The virtue of the pure cause that is free from attachment liberates from the evil destinies. That is the Dharma. So the Dharma, even though there's of course much to be learned, much to be studied about the Dharma, but what we need to understand is that when we only focus on this life, we only care about the happiness and the pleasures of this life, it is impermanent because it is compounded. It is subject to disintegration. And because of karma, we do not have much control over it. We are controlled by karma. So the Dharma, the pure cause, is the antidote to the attachment to this life. Through the Dharma, we turn away from the clinging, the fixation to the pleasures of this life, and we begin to think about karma and past and future lives. So, in particular, it's about our own happiness. So we turn away from the interest in our own pleasure, our own happiness through the Dharma. And so on top of that, we are protecting ourselves. The Dharma practice is what protects you. Because if we follow the pleasures of this life, not only will we not be protected, but on top of that, actually all these pleasures actually then become a cause for falling into the three lower realms. So therefore it says here, the Dharma liberates from the evil destinies. And ultimately, the essence of the Dharma is the twofold truth. So that's the relative truth, which is the teachings on karma, the infallibility of karma, cause and effect. And then through that, one sees the ultimate truth, which is the non-duality of self and other. One can attain the state of enlightenment through the Dharma. And the Dharma is the teaching spoken by the Buddha. And in brief, even though there are many teachings, it really all comes down to just these lines. Do not commit any wrong, perfectly practice virtue, tame your own mind. It's really only this and nothing else. And so the Dharma, therefore, is extremely precious. So in brief, even though we speak about 84,000 different Dharma teachings, these three lines, this brief teaching of the Buddha is really the essence, the meaning of all the Dharma teachings.
Nisong soke jisong samatang kangi toba jagdis mugu ta chu gomba chikon jimji ki chik sam ranzok ize nyuma ba tokti ranzok roa tok chade nyuma ba tokti roa tok saungte nyuma ba tok res de vidri chatawa ji meto kasel ma jan ram dauna saung ka ro ti khado te ne jimji chachit ba ta teri ha ko tu gore jimji ki sam ranzok ize chekke jagdis mugu ta de 대외 기회기 소리 torsi들 이제가 사원이 유무바 톡대 단지 다른 유무바 톡대 총주벽을 대 통수를 이렇게 소리 저 잡에다 이 소리 도로 접로 메도로 사원을 메도해요 이 소리를 저 찍도 도담 줘줘 봐 그다 도담을 사진을 공방 톱에 저들이 타톡을 된 말들이 도담을 된 봐서 내가 그것도 된 말들 다지지 다지지 로다 타니 진피를 로라로 진피를 로디 타톡받들이 다지 입에 받들이 차때 강물들이 출애들이 출 사지 깔들이 대 토고 때 시절 출어 삼살로 시절들이 너무 탐지시와 대와 그리지 내가 토리 타톡 사지 고마게 때 주요디 되지
So it says, so it liberates from the evil destinies, the Dharma. So those evil destinies are the 3 lower realms. And so what is it that causes us to take birth, to fall into those lower realms? Who created them? Lord Jigten Sumgön said in the Gongchik that cause and effect is the ripening or the manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts in the mind. So all happiness and suffering, everything you experience is the natural manifestation of the 6 afflictive emotions. So the 6 realms of samsara arise from the 6 afflictive emotions. They are the seeds of the 6 realms. And so, for example, just like the seed of a flower, if it's the seed of a white or yellow or red and so on flower, depending on what seed you will have a certain color of flower. So just based on this example, actually, on these lines by Jigten Sumgön, you can really get a very subtle understanding of karma, cause and effect. So this line here by Jigten Sumgön, cause and effect is the natural manifestation of one's moment-to-moment thoughts. So the Dharma is the virtue of the pure cause. So the virtue is that through the Dharma, these seeds of the lower realms, self-grasping, the 6 afflictive emotions, are reduced and finally eliminated. And then if you do not have a cause of falling into the lower realms, then there are no lower realms. It's just like if the seed of a flower is destroyed, then the flower cannot grow. And so finally, you realize through the Dharma, you realize the ultimate truth. So it says here, it is the single, supreme, and ultimate truth, homage to the Dharma, that is peace. So temporarily, it is peace because when you, on a temporary, like relative level, you cultivate an altruistic mind, and as a result, you experience happiness, and you separate yourself from self-grasping. And that leads to the ultimate peace, because through the altruistic mind, you free yourself of this perception of a separateness of self and other. And you achieve that state through the Dharma, through the teachings of the Buddha. And so, therefore, homage to the Dharma, that is peace. It is peace because through the Dharma practice, you achieve a state that is happiness only, lasting happiness that is free of suffering entirely and lastingly. So through the Dharma practice, you experience temporary and ultimate peace. So these are the qualities of the Dharma.
좀 따라 뛰네 되니 좀 따서래 양 다디네네 데르들이 추로가 되지 중요 거래 세계는 높았다는 때랑하게 좀 땅이 비발라 성지 됐은 거서 좀 따지 나도 가리는 취지디 가리는 나도 좀 되는데 중요 거래 되게 맞도록 저 이제 취시 받을 중요한 말이지 이 취를 나게 주의돼 좋은데 시와타 대바 사바다 니제 주의되네 이 일때 저거 탑 nga damde pe khabo do de seji ate dunge jore de ma damde jimpi lo de zong go re de na yi de jimpi lo de de chuwa ta de to la na to la pa ta ra de ku de nga iso kasap to ba de ne yore de ta de ge du man je de ka se ge du de ta de ge du ne ya chang sa lo se she ge dang ba yong de xin se de de ge du ba de ge zhong na 매도 찍당 시도 찍가 되는 대박 바상 세 바상 되더니 논들이 연진시 바지 초생초들 초지지 사지 취성은 연진바면라 이게 보다 잡사적인 강력 평가 말이야 사제걸 랍라고 요를 가나 평가 말이야 중인자고 차선이 연진바라 뛰네들이 되게 연진바 탑처럼 되게 연진바 찍라 톡사지 그 견디는 송답지대 고초 숨가 견디는 타거리 고초 숨보는 견디는 짜치가요 말이지 견디바 탐지라는 소설 전체 말이지 대땡타지 견디바 탐지라 토마니 견디바 탐지 종득 처르다데 제제 탐지 이니 그서 몽바리 레기바 소이 사로 요레비 견디바 전지 칸나더니 네 바타비들이 도발 네 바타비들이 삼점 잡아리 이때 견디는 잘로서
And then next for the Sangha, it says, freed, you show the path to freedom and honor fully the pure trainings, best field of virtuous qualities, homage to the Sangha too. So they are freed, they are liberated. So what are they liberated from? They are liberated from this thought of me, I exist, this thought of me, the self-cherishing, selfish mind. They have understood that this selfish mind is like an kind of an evil web, a net of maras, of demons. So they are freed from that web of the maras, and they freed themselves through the altruistic mind. And in that way, cultivating the altruistic mind, they have become liberated from self-cherishing, the selfish mind, and all the afflictive emotions. And so for that, we need to understand first the faults of not being liberated, not being freed. We need to understand the faults of clinging and grasping. And we need to understand the qualities of liberation, of freedom. So the Sangha is someone who has liberated themselves from ignorance and therefore is also able to give that method to others, to show it to others. So the Sangha is freed and therefore shows the path to freedom, and then they honor fully the pure trainings. And so the pure trainings here refers to honoring the pure trainings refers to the observance of the three levels, the three kinds of vows of body, speech, and mind. And it specifically means that they do not strive after the concerns, the benefits of this life, the happiness, their own happiness of this life. But they dedicate their lives to the benefit of sentient beings. And actually, by doing that, they benefit themselves too. So the dual benefit of self and others is accomplished. So that is the nature of the Sangha anywhere in this world. So what we call a Sangha is really any spiritual practitioner of any religion, it doesn't have to be Buddhism, any religion in the world, anyone who dedicates their life to the benefit and happiness of others. That is Sangha. And often when conflict arises in the name of religion, it is because it is said if we are attached to our own traditions, then we become ordinary. So even though the tradition might be good, but when it becomes tarnished by self-grasping and fixation, then we actually, in the name of religion, cause a lot of harm towards sentient beings. But however, this is not the fault of the religion. This is the fault of the self-cherishing, the selfish mind. And if we have that mind, if there is this selfishness, it doesn't matter what we do, whether it is the Dharma or some kind of religion or a mundane activity. Once we are selfish, it will only lead to problems and faults. But it's never the fault of a religion. The religion is always good, but it's what we do with the religion. So through the religion, through the Dharma, we can liberate our mind stream, and we can cultivate a state of lasting peace and happiness. And we do that by cultivating love and compassion. So we should recognize that all of the problems that I encounter is because I'm selfish, because of self-grasping. That's the cause of all of my suffering. So this is what the Sangha tells you. This is why you suffer. Therefore, you should cultivate an altruistic mind. And if you do so, you will become liberated. So that is what the Sangha tells us to do. And so therefore it says here, the Sangha is the best of fields, the field of virtuous qualities. So there is the outer Sangha, the spiritual teachers, who abide in the 3 levels of the vows with body, speech, and mind in their lives, and who dedicate their lives to sentient beings. That is what we pay homage to here. And so this field of virtuous qualities, or the best of field, is the merit field, which means that when you make even just a small offering to a Sangha, it becomes extremely meaningful. For example, just a flower or a piece of fruit. If you make this offering with great devotion, it's very meaningful because a Sangha is the supreme field for us to accumulate merit. And the Sangha is extremely precious because even though the Buddha was there and the Buddha taught the Dharma, if there would be no Sangha, then even hundreds of different Dharma scriptures would be of not much benefit to us because we wouldn't understand them. And even a Buddha statue as large as a mountain would be completely useless to us. It would just be like a reflection. It wouldn't really benefit us. But the Sangha actually explains the meaning to us. So the Sangha's mind is the Buddha. The body is the Sangha. The speech is the Dharma. Within the Sangha, the 3 jewels are complete. And of the 3 jewels, the Sangha is actually most precious. Of the 3 jewels, the Sangha is most kind to us because the Sangha explains it all to us. And now what we, on the other hand, even though that's the case, even though the Sangha is most precious of all the 3 jewels, nowadays what people actually tend to do is that the first thing they do is try to find the fault in the Sangha, in a teacher. And that is, I feel really bad for them because this is completely blinded, completely ignorant. And by doing that, they actually accumulate a lot of negative karma. So I feel that this is extremely unfortunate because, in fact, just the mere fact that we have a Sangha living in this world today is actually inconceivable. It's an unimaginable merit. So for this reason, we pay homage to the Sangha first and foremost.
저희들은 난거 고쳐서 자료도 봐 살려다 난거 고쳐서 하고 그래. 난거 고쳐서 강의들은 사제들이 뭐 시합이 다당이 당보 자료도 봐 쇼고 소리로 토마티 시합들이 가르치는 쇼고 나 동일 조고 내가 탑고 살네 탑 탑대 시합들이 탑다 시합들이 와대 나게 시합들 사제들이 뭐 시합 때렸더니 다다 내가 내 정도 탑톡 사제 고방 마사보다 시합들이 잡고래 사지 좀 되게 개출 탑을 란팀바 예지 탑을 리더라는 레서 너는 시합을 뛰들이 개비 피우 듣고 이면 레드를 찾을 타고 또 들이 다 탑톡 다 취지 맞을 가면들 취지는 뭐 산문제에서 기본 예체 용라 이제 동 요랑 제 뭐 자와 산쪽 셈란도 소리 취 참제된 뭐 산문제를 가래 취시바 되게 다디 들고 그래 다디 매바도 그래 대외는 다디는 이걸 잡에 취시 그래서 취시바데 난 산문제들이 산바들 되게 hin제를 산바들 되게 hin제 가래 랑라 특히 파마 때 된처를 잘 좋고요. 놀다 다다 특히 파마게 물을 못 지요래. 대때 물을 보지 세요라 들이다다 된처에 이 록일들이라 피바들 밑에 진고게 때를 셈을 좋아 가려고 어떻게 진서를 밑에 양당인데 들 사바체요래. 대회는 만남 카타냐면 셈진 탐제도 근데 저 파마 봐도 쩍쩍 매봐 인사 들이랑 그 삼박의 센트들이 끌나 잡아 삼바 타고 또 삼바디 여마 리레게더니 잡고 그랬대 잡았으면 삼바디 매직 찌와지 매직나 제가 제송 들이 삼바 초가 찍지 그래 들 박차시 초가 찍기니지 이때 양자양들 들매들 찌와치 못 찾게 그래 찌와치 못 요점이 이 찾게 그래 대학 박차리 개별 박차들이 삼바든 경기가 박차죠 그래 삼바든 저번 hin제다 저번 시합소 삼바든 저번 hin제들 이 메들 가나 진짜 뭐 인시 대삼바리 다 메들 가게도 이 전남시 장문 이 장로 들 들어오고 그래 어때 주고 또 그러들 가라고 그래 다 시합거들이 시합을 start들이 그래 들이 생기도 또 속차게 들으면 강로 삼바지와 텔레tin 니게티 니게티 샤비 티 탑다 탑샤비 탑샤비 송저를 말이 그 추리는 뭐 삼hin제래 삼바들 니게래 해지
And then after we have taken the refuge vow, then we need to understand the inner three jewels. So that is first the inner Buddha it is said in our refuge card, I take refuge in wisdom, the heart essence of the Buddha. So, for example, you have the intention, I want to receive the refuge vow. That is your inner wisdom, that is your inner Buddha. Then why do you want to take the refuge vow? I want to become free from suffering and I want to experience happiness. So in this way, you are combining your wisdom with skillful means. So your inner Buddha is your inner wisdom, your own mind. So your own wisdom is the heart essence of the Buddha. And it's that wisdom, that inner Buddha that will bring you to happiness temporarily until you ultimately achieve enlightenment. That's your actual refuge. Your wisdom is what will protect you. And the Buddha himself had said that I can show you the path to liberation, but then liberation itself depends on yourself. You have to accomplish liberation. And through your inner Buddha, your inner wisdom understands karma, cause and effect, and it understands the shortcomings, the faults of negative actions and the benefits of virtuous actions. So wisdom realizes the subtle workings of karma. And then for the Dharma, when we take refuge in the Dharma, the heart essence of the Dharma is love and compassion. There are 84,000 different Dharma teachings, and their essence, the root of all teachings, is bodhicitta. So therefore, in our refuge card, it says, I take refuge in love and compassion, the heart essence of the Dharma. So what is the Dharma? The purpose of the Dharma is to tame your own mind, it means to tame your self-grasping, to eliminate self-grasping. The antidote to self-grasping is the Holy Dharma. Holy Dharma is love and compassion. And specifically, it is compassion that is infused by love. And compassion infused by love is to feel gratitude toward, for example, your kind parents. And whenever you feel gratitude, this feeling arises. You feel, for example, that my kind parents, they gave me this precious human body. And so then, even though you have this precious human body, then there also are very kind other people, like teachers, who help us to achieve happiness through either the mundane system or the spiritual systems. So when you remember the kindness of others, when you feel grateful, then a feeling arises, this feeling of gratitude, where you feel that, oh, they are so kind, like my parents were so kind. So love arises. And then we expand that, and we expand that to all mother sentient beings, thinking that actually all beings have been my parents, just like that. It is said that love is the power that is all-pervasive. And in order to make it all-pervasive, we have to cultivate it each and every day. We have to pervade our love. So for example, when you think about a person that is very loving, maybe the person gave you a little gift, and then you remember that person, oh, he gave me this. You remember this with great love. A feeling of love for that person arises. And that feeling is that imprint that then remains within your mind. And as you cultivate it day by day, you create more and more of these imprints. So each feeling creates an imprint in the mind. And so eventually, when that is habituated, that person, their love will become vast, and also it will become steadfast, unchanging love. So a virtuous karmic imprint is placed into your mind, the imprint of love and compassion. So first we need to develop this compassion, which is infused by love, and then wisdom that is infused by compassion. So for the first one, compassion that is infused by love, you bring to mind anyone that you are grateful for. You remember the kindness of others. That is love. And then compassion is where you want to free them from suffering. For example, if that person that you love experiences hardships, for example, if it's very cold outside and you think, oh, they must be freezing, I must give them some clothes to put over, or maybe they're hungry, I must give them some food. So then through this compassion arises the power of wisdom. Then you think about what you can do to help them. And then you expand that, for example, to anyone, to beings, human beings, to animals. You want to help anyone who is suffering. So that is this compassion infused by love, which leads to the wisdom infused by compassion. Basically, in other words, it's the union of method and wisdom. So that's the essence of the Dharma. It is love and compassion, or it is this compassion infused by love.
Tada Jitiba Gigi Tabjika Mate de Deki Gigi in Joguyore. Tada Data Yagi and Duati Tabjede. Gigi in it, Gigi Shirapati, Gigi Shirap Jogori. The Shirap Tilly, Tabichiloti, Shirapti, Ninja Shigori. They were at Tada George Yubo Gavish in song. Look, each of a Gigi Tabjisana. Oh, Gigi tail my young data, Lega data of Chiba, not the same Abdullah so much Karina, Pen, nine Kapada Shilmarit. Oh, Kapada Chipo Dashil, then you think I said though. They want to tap the Jutik of the cylinder till the of the top. Hajamabu Juti, the Agil Doyori. They tap the Shabby song, she have the Kari, Sanjiri. She just Sanjisa, Jeti. Oh, three sharp ninja, that road gave utility, take Tabi Chilokatili, just Mambokatili, they are to top the top ledge of the Tonguyore. Jutim below say they take it. Then a Pamaki, Malun Boche, the Sena Young, Gigi Mina, little Rotavary, Yotime Badi, they have a chat, Gigi of your Kadichibori, some. The Kadichibo is on the Kadichibo reason, Lord, they around the Kadichibo Charlie. There's still a Sabachi territory, Niji Jogori. There is a deep Robache to Guri. There's was just like a Jumba, such as Zuba something in Jogori. The very territory, Project gave it in so.
And then thirdly, it says, I take refuge in the spiritual friends, the heart essence of companions. That is also in one verse of the 37 Bodhisattva practices, how we should cherish, hold dear our spiritual teachers, our spiritual friends. So what are these virtuous friends, or spiritual friends, or virtuous friends, or teachers? So there are teachers in both systems, the mundane and the Dharma system, or religious system. In the worldly system, the worldly mundane teachers teach us things so that we can accomplish our well-being in this life. So all the well-being that we are able to achieve in this life is because we have learned something from teachers in a mundane sense. For example, science has developed extensively in this world, and they pass on that knowledge also through wisdom, and that leads to a lot of well-being in the world. And then according to the Dharma, our spiritual teachers, now in the Dharma it is taught that this wisdom also needs to be combined, unified with compassion. So the heart essence of the Sangha or companions is the spiritual friend, the spiritual teacher, but referring to both systems, the mundane and the spiritual system. If you just think about the qualities of a worldly teacher, for example, then maybe you feel that it's because of what I've learned from this teacher that now I am able and know how to do this job. And because of that, I'm able to accumulate wealth and well-being in this life. And actually, everything that we enjoy in this life is because of what we have learned from our teachers. For example, I don't even know how to use a phone. I don't know how to make a phone call. Actually, if you think about, if you just know that, if you just know how to make a phone call, that's actually an incredible quality because not everybody knows that. So all of the happiness in this world really comes from our teachers. They give us various skillful means to accomplish well-being in this life. And so then in the Dharma, we need to combine this wisdom with compassion. But the wisdom itself, this intelligence itself, is the Buddha. It is said that everything that's done in this world, in the field of knowable things, so in this world, everything that's done is done by Buddha because it's done by the intelligent mind. But this intelligent mind needs to be unified with compassion. So then it becomes beneficial. Then one becomes a spiritual friend or a spiritual teacher. And what we learn from the spiritual teacher will be of great benefit, not just in this, but all future lives. Because the teacher teaches us the workings of karma and how to create happiness and how to avoid suffering. The worldly teachers show us how to create the happiness in this life in a temporary sense. But they're also very precious. Because if we wouldn't have those worldly teachers, if we wouldn't learn anything, then human beings would be much like animals. They wouldn't know anything. So therefore, when this mind arises, this mindset where you think that, oh, my teachers are so kind, when you feel grateful to your teachers, actually this mind of gratitude is your own best, your own greatest benefit. You're doing yourself actually the greatest service by that. Because through this mind of gratitude, love arises. And then from love arises compassion. And with love and compassion, you can actually help sentient beings. And actually it is from this mind of love and compassion that all the other virtuous actions arise. For example, generosity and ethical discipline and patience and so forth. So therefore in the refuge card it says, I take refuge in the virtuous friends, the heart essence of companions.
Yibi Jero Sandom Sang, Nibu Danang Dong, Madom Sang, the Shayore. The Saji Garden Carriera, the Pachiam Mazashin song. Carry, there is no Jeti Bandit, the Pachiam Mazashin song. The Bacare, Tata Yin no Bacare, Dante, Rano Turbabu. They carry Kodoku, Daji, Yi, Orite. 동담 세국의 다지니 얼마리 랑랑랑 노바타만지 차디요리 그것도 다지니 상을 맞더니 대 똑같이 아무도 랑도 쳤대고요리 게와 벗은 똑같이 시바들 인피 접대는 사족서도 봐 장종 오 일파 비바더라 띄어차도 랑서 피디요리 제가 기와 퍼선 속박제 송게되다 들이 GP 제대로 사돈 상조 대ኛ 동지와 차대요 레지 누비 당항조는 하돈 장지 가리 어 랑그 셈의 용선 더 사제 때문에 넌 셈장마지 셈장마지 마그 도발은 누비 당항조는 되나 이제는 누비 이가들이 주마다는 디제거는지 마다바 돈바니 샤킹보다 차디요리 대하고는 셈상마들 대탑지 돈바니 뭐 하고 듣고요리 배나 대하고는 그 당황지나 무보는 지말에 내 말에서 제가 착과도 나와서 무보던 지말 시바트게 매바서는 이 주마다게 들이 제가 답고 나와 무디지 다서 들이 답고 나와지 무디지 거기 나지 인항에 소요리 다디 다라 다지 인항에 다서 들이 사회 다 아무리 그 당황형 하고 도바다 쳐지 말이 들이 나와 라타고 마시바티 센트 장마 차서는 그 탐지 랑 셈차들 제대로 나와 탐지 랑 셈성 라니 소비면서 이랬다 센트 양당한테 늘났더니 타톡들이 셈그람지 동답고 대바 통송 동답고 대바 통로더니 오 따라서 좀 방법이 맞아 셈 쪽발에 포대용 셈 쪽발에 이 셈을 하고는 들이라 사자체 뭐 똑같이 뭐 닦아요리 이 잡동 같은 데 기체 보여리 참말 보야 요리.
Then also in the refuge card it says for the three kinds of vows. So first it says when harming others and its cause are abandoned, the vows of individual liberation are complete. And when the benefit of others and its cause are accomplished, the bodhisattva vows are complete. And when pure perception toward the universe and sentient beings arises, the tantric vows are complete within that. So actually those 3 vows correspond to the previously mentioned 3 lines by the Buddha: do not commit any wrong, perfectly practice virtue, completely tame your own mind. And so how they correspond is that the first one, do not commit any wrong, and that corresponds to completely abandoning the harm of others, or the pratimoksha vows of individual liberation. So this term, do not commit any wrong, it is dikpa in Tibetan, and so this implies something, the term implies something that will fall back upon yourself. So when you harm others, then it will eventually come back to you. It will fall back upon yourself. So on the relative level, it is because of karma. So that is for as long as we see a difference between self and other, we follow karma. But also from the ultimate perspective, actually, it is even more true, because ultimately, self and others do not exist. So there are no self and other. You're inseparable. And therefore, if you're harming others, you are actually really harming yourself, because there are really no others. There is no self and other. So harming others on the relative and ultimate level always will fall back upon yourself. So that is the first line, do not commit any wrong, or the pratimoksha vows, not harming others. And then the second line is practice virtue perfectly, and that corresponds to the bodhisattva vow of accomplishing the benefit of others. And if you benefit others, then actually you are benefiting yourself in all future lifetimes. So that is, to practice perfect virtue means to accomplish the benefit of others, which is the bodhisattva vow. And then thirdly is to tame your own mind, which corresponds to the tantric vow that says to cultivate a pure perception in the universe and sentient beings is the tantric vow. And that is the purification of your own mind, the taming of your own mind. So completely tame your own mind. This is the Buddhist teachings. That's also on the Refuge card. So to tame your own mind, to completely purify your own mind, that really is the essence of the tantric vows of the Vajrayana. The essence of the tantric practice is to cultivate a pure perception toward the universe and sentient beings. And so it begins with, this pure perception begins with understanding, knowing that everything that appears and exists, the universe and all beings, lack inherent existence. They are like illusions. They are just compounded phenomena, meaning they are impermanent, they are empty of self-nature, just as it is described in the Heart Sutra. And if you purify your mind, as you purify your mind, you begin to understand this. You begin to understand, you realize emptiness. And when you have realized emptiness, then a pure perception toward the universe and sentient beings arises. And then you realize that it's just because the beings grasp it, they cling to the true existence of what appears to them and the concepts in their mind. And due to that, they develop all these thoughts of feelings of attachment and anger and so on. And actually, all of that doesn't really exist. It's all an illusion. So the pure perception begins with this illusory perception. You see everything as an illusion. It doesn't really exist. So from that comes a mind that doesn't cling. And when the mind doesn't cling, you begin to see things, appearances, as they are in a pure way. And so what becomes pure, purified, is the clinging to a concrete reality and the clinging to the thoughts in our mind. So when all of these fixations and the fundamental fixation to the subject-object duality become purified, then everything is seen as pure. And that is the most supreme tantric vow. So then when there is no, no grasping in the mind, all appearances then become the deity, and all sounds become the sound of mantra. And actually it all arises from within your own mind. In the 37 Bodhisattva practices, it says, appearances are your own mind. You realize that as you keep taming, purifying your mind over and over again. It is that ultimately, as a result of that, you will see the ultimate truth, the ultimate reality. And when you see that, what you experience is that there is just a great diversity in terms of form. There are many different bodies, but there is just one mind. There is not many minds. And that is what you realize when you see the ultimate truth. And that is what we call realizing the natural state of the mind, the nature of the mind. And that is referred to, that state of realization is referred to as Mahamudra or Dzogchen. So in any case, the meaning of all of that is in the refuge card. I put that in the refuge card because it is extremely important.
labdata lani sobdima di di ragi ning dawa rana de tepta kadin cheboyi damato ka sia mishi ina di loma taman de priya ta ni para di tongdor di ladab de la munje te di songdu de di para di ma jara rasam tam japcha tam di phajap ni songwa di ta chu zo yo Tini dina jetirba rumaka nga samati nga ngusi yore. So korsi bati nga yang yere pala kera dako yore. Tini shota karpe kabo yore. Tini nga dina yore. Tini senda tongdori saji chobdi injeki chorongwa pandoni sona. Zogda meke lichek tongla kaba tongsa su jetik bata bata tongdori de sama keke yono. Tini kasaka no tongdori na tini tate. Tongdori si bata saji ka mlamri. Tini nangna tongdori di zokla chawata jetali rangi yeye Refuge Rinpoche di pongkham chimchi tamji yele takwa chade nekab lower tripaga tini tata madaba juli danjini tili madaba chade di tabche taaro jetali takwa la takdoro di takwe chowa di di zonga tab mungbo metra tawdi data chimina tawa tabna di pongbo di metra talo di toa pokse Tini zogbe semchen tamchela, tini juila sanchok semchen tini huar tagdor, te ping tagdor de, sagan tongdor, nangla tagdor, tini tira rangi sungwa tini jetima drumakam sengha, jeti drumakam mar tusum je saje tamche ke tini, tusum saje tamche jebe yung, tini tusum je java tamche ke jeti drumana tapchok yore. Tini te jamte tini manali bode, tini te la tamche toki Rinpoche nigere nigera adok charlo de papa chire chire goni teri taten so gaguna teri tata marab jegere na teri nam den si parmi ga teri chuko jala mo kholo de kole teri duchi jode duche me pa ne thema che pa ti manere dog yer ti du de teri teri tata tama procurore teri tesum de priya yore
Then together with the refuge vow, there are a few gifts that I will also offer you. 3 gifts. And the first one is a little booklet, the 37 Bodhisattva practices, which represent your precepts, what you need to train in. And really the 37 Bodhisattva practices, this little book, is really just like my own heart. This little book has really been most kind to me personally, even though I actually really don't know much else, but this has been extremely kind to me. And that is what I would like to offer to you, the disciples. That's the first thing. And the second thing is this wristband, this bracelet, that contains now on the outside liberation by seeing mantra and the Tara mantra. And in the inside, the liberation by touching mantra. So in the old days, when you would consecrate something with mantra, then you would recite like certain protection mantra on like a certain object, and then you would blow like 100 times or so. You recite the mantra, and then you blow on the object, and so then this object, like a kind of piece of paper, is then wrapped into something and made as a protection like wheel that sometimes people wear around their necks, as a necklace, yeah. And to represent that protection wheel that we often wear around the neck, there is this Tara mantra here on the bracelet, and it is like a protection sphere or a protection wheel, because often when we make these protection wheels that we wrap in paper and then wear it as a necklace, it's quite difficult paper is made out of paper, so paper is easily destroyed. So now that's why we made these wristbands, these rubber wristbands with the mantra for protection. Then also on the outside there is the liberation by seeing mantra, and this mantra was spoken by the Buddha. It comes from the Forceful Waterfall Sutra, and in that sutra it is said that whoever sees this mantra only once will purify the negativities, the negative karma accumulated in 300 million aeons. So it is called liberation by seeing, and the liberation by seeing really is the aspiration of the Buddha. And then on the inside of the wristlet, you have the liberation by touch mantra or wearing. So it is said that merely touching somebody's body with this mantra will purify their karma, will purify their human body as we appear now, and also all of our aggregates, elements, and sense sources. So in this way, our temporary confusions and delusions are cleared away, are purified. Our illusory impure body or aggregates become purified of self-grasping, of identifying with the body. And also, actually, when somebody dies and the liberation by touch mantra is with them, for example, when the body is cremated, then also maybe mixed with some other blessings, then the smoke that comes, the cremation smoke, anyone who is touched by that cremation smoke, also beings without a body, will benefit through the smoke that is infused with that mantra, and it will cause bodhicitta to arise within their mind streams, and eventually they will become liberated from samsara. So again, on the outside, you have the liberation by seeing mantra, and on the inside, liberation by touch mantra. Also on the outside is the Tara mantra. So the green Tara mantra is Tara's name mantra, and she is the mother of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. Tara is the protectress of all. So that's the second gift, the wristlet and the wristband. And then the third gift is a little pouch of the mani pills, blessing pills. And the blessing pills, what they really are is that the love of all the deities is contained within these blessing pills. So they really are the essence, like the vital essence of the love and the compassion of the deities is contained in those blessing pills. The essence of Chenrezig, for example. Chenrezig is the embodiment of compassion. And that's why these blessing pills, which come from our monastery, from Gar Monastery, that's why at Gar Monastery we are consecrating these blessing pills with Chenrezig mantra, through practicing an ongoing practice of Chenrezig, an ongoing Chenrezig Drupchen. We have been doing that for the last 8 generations non-stop. And so the way it is consecrated is through, there is this precious prayer wheel, the Gyanagma at Gar Monastery, that is being turned constantly, day and night. And along with it, the Chenrezig is practiced. And this is how these blessing pills are consecrated. So that's the third gift I am offering to you today. So totally we have 3 gifts for you today.
난 통조로 딱조로 용조대 사제가 송하니들이 좋다 네 미석을 늘려 창 나는 저 루간 저하나 미대들이 족복체 대 통화 투바 기바를 봐서 통주 제일 이제 보니 이 생기 담제 줄라 다디 청도 동도 요리 이쪽으로 건데 다다지 종나들이 라고 해야 나오는 포함 보고 대다서 라요리 이는 빼망고 필요 디소남들랑 쳤고 요리 라그 주남시 봐지 나디 색도 요리 나디 총도로 고바 토마메 바샤 데이지들이 다 까마종가들이 미소자로 나 데이지들이 잡도 바쁘게 들어나와.
So there are different kinds of liberation that the Buddha taught. There is the liberation by seeing, liberation by wearing or like touching, liberation by tasting, and so on. So, for example, the liberation by touching liberates beings only upon contact, physical contact with them. And then, for example, this liberation mantra in our wristband, whoever is touched by it will become liberated. It is said that whoever sees it or hears about it or touches it or thinks of it, remembers it, their mind will become liberated in the sense that their self-grasping will gradually be diminished. And actually it is said that if this wheel, this liberation wheel, like this prayer wheel, for instance, or the liberation by touching mantra, touches somebody who has died, it's not even necessary to practice poa for them. That becomes the poa. And so that is a great merit also for yourself, because if you distribute it, if you wear it, then your own self-grasping will become diminished. And in this way, you're purifying those karmic imprints of samsara since beginningless times. So now we will take a break for 15 minutes, and then when we come back, I will offer the refuge vow to you, Dharma friends.
Thank you, Ayubar Sangha. Long life.